Let me give you some advice. You can't care about anyone else. Everyone else is an obstacle. You care what an obstacle wants or feels, you're dead. If I'd cared about anyone or thing, I might have died. You have the talent. Whether you have the killer instinct is the big question.
She thought she owned everyone.
It's foolish. Unhinged. Well, you're fired. Why are you speaking?
I think you've nicked me. But there's something about poetic justice that's just so poetic.
You won't admit you love me, and so how
Do you ever lied?
to know you always tell me.
Get her.
This doesn't have to be a scene.
It really, really does. I'd like to remind you all that I'm doing this in heels.
What was your name?
Cruella.
If you can't make your mind up, we'll never get started.
I want to make trouble. You in?
I do love trouble.
Being hard.
You have a bit of an extreme side. Yes, darling. And what fun that is.
She stole my dogs.
I guess you must hate her.
She has made it me or her. And I choose me.
Don't tell me.
Don't worry. There's lots more bad things coming.
Perhaps.
Hi everyone, welcome and thank you all for tuning in to this very special Q&A brought to you by the female lead and Disney. My name's Holly and we're honoured to be joined today by the BAFTA award-winning makeup artist Nadia Stacey. Now, Nadia is the head of makeup for Cruella, which is Disney's latest film coming out this week on the 28th of May. If you're watching, make sure to get involved with the conversation using the hashtag Cruella. So Disney's Carella is an all-new live-action feature film about the rebellious early days of one of cinema's most notorious and notoriously fashionable villains, the legendary Cruella de Vil. Cruella is set in the 1970s in London during the punk rock revolution, so we're very excited to talk to makeup artist Nadia about the film and about her creative process. We're also going to talk about the power of female characters and the handling of male versus female villains in particular. So we're going to start our panel with a few questions from Isabella and Vanessa. Let's go to Vanessa first.
Hi Nadia, so my first question is, how did Carella's makeup change in contrast with Estella?
Well, I needed Estella to be, I wanted to believe that this is a young girl living in 1970s in London when punk was kind of really changing music and fashion and art, and I wanted to believe that this girl was seeing those references and kind of being inspired by what she was seeing on the street. So, but that needed to look very home done, and I wanted it to be kind of quite simple, particularly because when we then go to Cruella, she uses Cruella as kind of like a mask because the Baroness doesn't know who she is for so long. So it needed to be such a contrast. I needed to change the kind of shade even of a foundation and everything. All the colors needed to be much stronger and kind of, it's makeup sort of like a tool of deception in the film, if you like. It's kind of a kind of, she hides behind it for quite a while. So I just needed there to be a big jump from this kind of subtle, believable girl on the streets to suddenly this big character, this big iconic character.
And my next question is, what was the process like from the first idea of a makeup look to the final product that we see on screen?
Oh, so long, because I was in prep for it for so long, because we had, I don't think it's a secret, I think it came out that I had a certain amount of prep, and during that time I was collecting all these different references, and because we're an origin story as well, we're starting from the beginning and we are creating Cruella, it meant there was that sort of no goalposts and it was a real blank canvas to start from. So I was collecting all these things, and then Emma Stone hurt her shoulder, and I think at a Spice Girls concert, if I remember rightly. But anyway, she hurt her shoulder and it pushed the film by 6 weeks. And that gave me an extra 6 weeks to kind of collect more and more references. And so I was going kind of crazier and crazier with these looks. And so I really didn't know what it was going to be from the beginning. And the only starting point was this black and white hair. So, but I think the thing that kept coming back in the look is 1970s London punk. I think the shape of the eyebrow, the kind of, the sort of messiness to it, how much I blended it out and to make it kind of smudgy and messy was very much anchored to punk and what that look is. So I think I did end up somewhere from those references from the beginning, but it was quite a long time and a long process. And then when we actually put it on her face, it was like, we did it, we got, and she wears things very well.
How did you use makeup to show the personality of the characters in Cruella, and kind of what was it like creating the looks for such a powerful female villain?
Well, I think the biggest thing about makeup in this film, which I've never had before, is that because, like you say, she is so powerful, she's such a strong kind of female icon, that I was able to use makeup as a real kind of tool of empowerment as well. She dyes her hair at some point to kind of disguise her black and white, and then I think using hair and makeup and costume, we kind of work with the narrative that, but where we got to in the end was that it's about embracing who you are, and she uses hair and makeup to give her this confidence, which keeps growing and growing and growing and building throughout the film, until a point where she gets rid of this red hair and goes, no, this is who I am, I've got this black and white hair. And even when her two best friends, Jasper and Horace, miss the redheaded girl, this Estella, the kind of sweeter girl, she says, no, this is me, this is who I am. And that, I think makeup really helps her find that confidence. Every time she turns up at the Baroness's with this new big look on her face, she's more and more powerful, she's growing, and kind of, the Baroness's power is slipping and she's gaining more. So it's just an amazing thing that I could use makeup to do that. It never really happens.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. So what was it like working with Emma Stone and Emma Thompson? Did you approach their makeup designs in a similar way, or?
So I have an existing relationship with Emma Stone anyway, so we've done The Favourite together, and so because of that, there's a kind of shorthand and a trust as well, and I know what will work on her or what will suit her or what won't, and so that kind of gives you a real head start, and it's fantastic. And she's so fun that it's always going to be enjoyable and fun to do. And then with Emma Thompson, she brought with her, in a similar way, she'd worked with her hair and makeup artist, Naomi Don, who's an amazing hair and makeup designer. And she brought her on to do her hair and makeup, and they had worked together before. So again, there was that shorthand, there was that trust. She knew what kind of colours would work. So when we were talking about the colour of the wig, she knew exactly what kind of tone would work against her skin. And so it was incredible. And the best thing about that was you've got two really strong female leads with such completely different looks. One is anchored in the 70s punk, messy, kind of this unapologetic craziness to her. And the other, the references were more 1950s. So we were looking at those old kind of classic Hollywood beauties, Elizabeth Taylor, and these beautifully perfected eyeliners and not a hair out of place, and a totally different silhouette to Cruella. And you never get to do that either. So fun to have two such completely different looks in two icons. It was pretty amazing.
Cool.
Thank you, Vanessa and Isabella. Great questions. I've got some of my own questions for you now, Nadia. First of all, what made you want to become a makeup artist in the first place?
I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. I did lots of kind of arts-based jobs, and I knew I wanted to do something kind of artistic. But when I left school, you never kind of felt that you could do anything artistic and make any money from it. Everyone was sort of going, maybe you should have a backup career, a backup job. And I kind of thought, I don't really want a backup. I want to do something arty. and then found out about a makeup course, and it was really hard to get on. And so I just thought, I'm going to give it a go. And for my first day at media makeup course, I just thought, oh, this is it. It was a way to combine art with a love of storytelling and film, and creating characters. It was just so much fun. And it just kind of spiraled from there. And then I got working in theatre, into TV and film. And it's being part of the storytelling, knowing that you can help to create a character, and watching that character come to life in your actor or actress is pretty special.
And so who were your role models growing up?
Oh gosh, well, I'm a big music fan, and I'd always been into kind of music from sort of before my era, really. I think my dad got me into lots of different music, and I'd always been, and so I was always, I loved David Bowie growing up, and I guess it kind of connects in the sense that I love that he used hair and makeup and costume to create a different persona. I guess it comes back to that thing about being kind of confident, and being able to use that to sort of embrace another side of you. You know, I think there's something incredible about that. So he definitely was. So lots of those kind of music artists that had that use costume to change themselves, and then on a sort of practical level, I'd worked with a makeup designer called Lisa Westcott. She's done incredible films, and she's retired now, but she was definitely somebody that I loved her work, because I always believed the characters. I believed that they would wear that makeup, or they would have their hair that way, and there was something really special in the storytelling. So she was definitely a big influence.
And so what would your advice be to a young girl who thinks she wants to be a makeup artist when she grows up?
I would say go and get some training at whatever school that would be. You know, check out the school, lots of brilliant media makeup schools. I would say do hairdressing too. It's such an amazing skill to have both. It really gives you a kind of head start to get into the industry. And I would say to just be really just like, don't give in. It feels really like it feels such a huge industry. And when I first started, I used to think, Hollywood makeup artists, it all seems so kind of huge, but actually it's not as impenetrable as it seems. And I think if you really, really want it, I know everyone says that, but I genuinely believe if you really, really want it, it will happen. You just got to be passionate and know your stuff. I'm even, you know, me now, I'm constantly watching films going, oh, I love that makeup, who's done that? And finding out who the next directors are who are making fun things, or which music star is doing different makeups, or what's in trend, or I just think kind of learn your craft, and get into kind of history as well, and see what people were doing, so that you know all the different periods, because it's all about references. For me in Cruella, it was like I was using things from the 18th century, from 50s, from 60s, from 70s, from, you know, punk, from you kind of gathering all these bits of information as you go along, and then you can kind of use them to create a character. But don't give in, because it feels like you're not going to make it. I'm a very unlikely makeup artist, and I made it, so you can do it.
And you also seem like super duper chatty and friendly. And I've always thought, if you're a makeup artist, sometimes you must be spending like hours with a person in a room, just the two of you. So I'm guessing to have like that sort of approachable personality is quite important as well. Would you say that, or what else makes a good makeup artist in your opinion?
I think you have to have a skill about reading a room, because some actors will come in and they'll want to sit down, and they might have a big scene that day, and they need to learn their lines, or they need to be in a different headspace. You know, they might be playing a really emotional scene, so they need to be somewhere. And so if you are coming in and putting music on and chatting and telling them what you did last night, they're gonna, you know, they don't want to hear that. So you have to read the room and see what kind of. I make playlists a lot for the makeup trailer, but really they change all the time depending who's in there, who I think, you know, what the mood of the film is, or so I think that's quite a skill. And I don't know whether that's something that's just you have that as a skill, or whether that's something you can learn, but I think that's very important. But personality really is key, because our hours are so long. So when I'm looking for team, particularly in trainees, the whole point is that they're learning and you're training them as they go along. So you're not expecting them to come with all the skills. So the best thing is like, do I want to spend lots of hours in my day with that person? So it is about personality and about being friendly and being chatty, and yeah, definitely.
And one of my favourite looks in the film was when Cruella sort of crashes a fashion show on a motorbike, and she's got black and white on her eyes that says "the future." Yeah. And I was just wondering, how long did that take? Because I was looking at it thinking, I've only seen that for about 5 seconds, and that must have taken like hours. So how long does that take to do something like that? And then,
you know what, that was actually really quick, because so a big band at the time, the Sex Pistols, brought a very iconic album out at the time in 1977, and the font on the front of that album is the same font that we wrote "the future" across her face in. So I found that font online, and then my amazing assistant Guy Common cut those letters out just like you would a North stencil, and then took the negatives and just laid them on Emma's face to spell "the future," and then just airbrushed over the top, then peeled them away. So it's like really, really quick, and then cotton bud to kind of clean up to make sure that it was really, noticeable what it said. I did have those panics sometimes when I thought, what if she's kind of got one eye slightly closed and you can't really read what it is, and it says something completely different. So we had to make sure that it was really positioned properly. But that makeup actually wasn't that big. It was probably one of the fastest. Oh, but we did put a jeweled lip on as well, so that probably took some time.
Yeah, I love that. It looks so cool, especially when she's then like against the newspaper. It looks really cool. I was wondering then, so because her character sort of changes significantly throughout the film, how do you reflect that in the makeup? So when she starts off like quite innocent and a thief, to then becoming this icon and then wanting to seek revenge, and you see her face sort of change the whole way, but like from someone like me who's not a makeup artist, I can't see exactly how you're doing that. So what is it? Is it the eye makeup? Is it the skin tone? What is it?
I think it's all of those things. And I didn't really realize at the time, but now since I've been asked about these things, I realized that I guess I was getting braver as she was getting braver. So as Cruella's building this confidence, so was I, that I thought, oh, where can we go next? So how much bigger can we go? So then my palette got kind of bigger in terms of, right, now we'll go for metallics, now we'll go for jewels, now we'll go for feathers, now we'll go for whatever it was. I just kept kind of adding things to it. And that is all about confidence again. You do one look and go, oh, that's worked, what can we do next? And so my confidence was building with hers. But back to that thing about using kind of makeup as a sort of, she used it as sort of deception to hide herself from the Baroness. That meant that I tweaked all the colours with that as well. The skin tone, I tweaked the foundation, so took that down as well, because everything needed to be a kind of barrier. And she's even got, as Cruella, she has a beauty spot, and she doesn't have it as Estella. So it's tiny little things, that her nail colour changes when she's Cruella. It's just, she's created a different persona. I was really heavily influenced by drag as well, because I love the fact that, when you watch RuPaul's Drag Race and then they take their wigs off and their makeup off, and it's just like this guy that you go, how have you just come from this to that? And I kind of was really inspired by that.
That's funny. Now you say that, I feel like I can kind of see that. Now you've said it, definitely.
Yeah, she's like a drag artist, really. Yeah. She's created a persona. She's Estella, this young girl that lives in London and works for the Baroness. And Cruella is something completely different. So she's created just like a drag artist would.
So what was your favourite look that you did? If you said you got more confidence towards the end, was it one of the final looks?
I think probably I loved the garbage truck look, where she's got an 18th century wig on her head, but the 18th century wig, so when I dressed it, instead of it just going up like this kind of shape, I sort of took it off to the side, because I was like, she wouldn't just have it regular like everyone else does. There'd be something wrong with it, something, off kilter. And then I loved the contrast, the fact that a garbage truck backs up, and then from out of that comes somebody in an 18th century wig with pinks and purples and blue jewels all over her face. It's like such a contrast from a garbage truck. So I kind of like the sort of the fun in that. and we had fun doing that. I don't know if you'll ever see in the film, but her nails are all encrusted with jewels as well in that one. So we really went for it.
So what would you say you love most about your job if you had to pick just one thing?
Creating somebody different from when they sit in the chair in the morning. We're the first place that they come in the morning, they arrive in their cars, get out of their car, you know, they've just got up, so no makeup on, hair tied up or a hat on or something, they come into the makeup truck, and so from what walks in to what walks out is completely different. And then so whatever we do in that makeup truck gets them ready for set in every sense of the word. They become the character, and that's really exciting because you've been a part of that.
Brilliant. We've got some questions from our audience now, so I'm just going to take a little look to see what we've got. Did you always want to do makeup in movies? And if so, how did you get your first job as a movie makeup artist?
I would have just been grateful to work in, and after I went to college, it was like, I just want to work in the industry somewhere. And so I started in theatre, which I think is another fantastic training for anyone that wants to get into this industry. You learn to be quick because there's no kind of starting again. They have to be on stage. And so I started in theatre and I loved that training. And then I kept doing just loads and loads of work experience, trying to sort of meet as many people. It's all about networking. And I met someone who was doing a film with Renee Zellweger, and they were filming in London. And she said, do you want to come out and do some work experience? And I went out and did some work experience, and just remember walking around. It was a period film, so it was like horses and carriages and all these people in Edwardian costumes. I just remember standing there thinking, I can't believe I'm on a movie set. It was just ridiculous. And that was my first kind of break, really. And then I just started to meet more and more people, and it continued.
And someone's asked here about your influence for Corella's look. I know you've spoken about that a bit already, but they do mention here the cartoon, and I wonder how much of an impact did the cartoon version of Cruella have on our Cruella that we have in this film?
Well, I watched all of it again, and the Glenn Close version again when I started to prep. But because we start from the beginning and Estella is creating Cruella, I didn't feel like I was ever kind of tied to anything that had happened before, because the only thing is I wanted to believe that the Cruella we create could eventually become the Glenn Close. So she eventually kind of perfects her look, and she stops playing with it so much, and she becomes this kind of beautifully sculpted Glenn Close. So I wasn't kind of tied to it, but I definitely watched it. And Jasper and Horace, their cartoon versions of them were on my wall for sure. So yeah, I wanted to be kind of respectful to it because the fans love it, don't they? And I love it. So, but I felt like we could kind of start at the beginning and play. So.
And a question here, COVID related. When you were working on set, what practices did you have to use to take care of yourself because of COVID?
Oh, Cruella was before. So
lucky.
Yeah, so it's really strange to look back to think that we weren't doing it wearing masks, and there were none of these things in place. So thank goodness as well, because it was so kind of fast paced and so big. It would have been, you know, because it is kind of restrictive. I've done jobs since then, and you have a whole COVID team put on board, and we wear PPE, and you know, we have all the kind of things in place. But yeah, luckily Cruella was before.
That is very lucky. I did wonder on some of the scenes, I was thinking, how have they done this?
That
makes sense now.
I don't want to think about that.
Another one here. What product do you feel is most important when putting together a look? So I guess if you had to pick one product, what would that product be?
From the Cruella look, well, it's not meant to be a shameless plug, but there is a MAC collection out now of a Cruella Max collection. So a lot of the colors and everything that I used you can currently get now. I think the thing that I was used the most on that film was a MAC eyeliner pencil called Smolder, because it looks black, but when you use it and you rub it in, it kind of goes a sort of softer, like a gunmetal grey. So it's not, for anyone that likes wearing kind of dark or black eyeshadow, it's not really harsh, it's not too much, so it becomes softer. So when we started to blend out those kind of punky looks, it took it more to beauty rather than kind of harsh punk. So I would say that I had a lot of those pencils.
We've got another one about your career in particular. So what has been the most challenging part of your career, and how did you get through that challenge?
Well, it's hard starting out in this industry as a makeup artist. You know, we all work freelance, so you never know when the next job's coming. And that can be really hard. It can be kind of, also you're away a lot. The hours are really, really long. So there's some really challenging aspects in working in the film industry and working as a makeup artist, but they, you know, they're part and parcel of the role. But in terms of an actual project, the favorite was tough, because again, I didn't know what we were going for. I knew we were making a period film, but we weren't making a standard period film. And so what is that? What, you know, what are you going to do? What are you going to change? So that was challenging, but also like one of the most rewarding.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nadia. We've run out of time for our audience Q&A now. So thank you everyone for those questions. We're just going to go to a quick video to end off with Kirby Hal-Baptiste and Isabella.
Hi, Isabella.
Hi, Kirby. I'm Isabella from the female lead. So today I'm going to be showing you how to sign "I am a woman, hear me roar." Which is
I
pretty
love
exciting.
that. That's very exciting.
It's a really cool sign as well. It's some really cool signs. So what it is just going to point to yourself, nice and simple, with just your finger. So it's I. And then for woman, you're just going to bring your finger by your ear and it's just going to come down your jaw.
Ooh.
Perfect. So I am a woman. And then again, your pointer finger is just going to come to your ear. And then just kind of go out to the side. So here. And then you're going to point yourself with 3 fingers. Here, me, and then roar like this.
Oh, I love that.
It's
Okay,
cool,
so
isn't it?
I am a woman. Hear
Me, roar.
That's
amazing.
so
That was so good. That was amazing. You're welcome. I absolutely love that. So I do have a couple of questions for you. So obviously we don't really get that many films with female leads, female villains. So what makes Cruella so iconic?
I think what makes Cruella so iconic, I mean, if you're familiar with Cruella from the past, you remember the kind of like unhinged, kind of like ruthless villain. And I think that I mean, just the kind of image of her, I think, is absolutely iconic, right? Like that hair and the outfit and the fact that she's like in love with fashion. And then I think what makes this Cruella so iconic is understanding that this is a full human, which I think that like in terms of villains, we often get that with male villains, right? Or anti-heroes. We get to see them as a full human being and we get to understand why they're this way and why they've done this. And we don't always get that liberty with women, but that's what you're seeing here. You're understanding who she is now is a result of her upbringing, is a result of sort of, it's nature versus nurture, right? It's what you're born with versus the thing, sort of the environmental factors that kind of create who you are. And I think that that's iconic. I think it's iconic to see women allowed to be messy and imperfect and fully who they are, which is that, right? We're multifaceted and nuanced. We're not always like pretty and perfect, and I think you see that.
Yeah, that's amazing. 100%. So except for maybe a family member, who is a living woman who you look up to, who inspires you?
A living woman that inspires me is Grace Jones. I think Grace Jones is authentically herself, and I think that she is someone who I look at as it feels like her path has been something that she has chosen rather than it being sort of dictated. And I think that's really beautiful to see. And I think we're seeing more and more women that are allowed to do that. But she's such a trailblazer because she was doing that 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, amazing. So the film has a lot of strong, powerful female characters, not all of them good. What is one lesson we can learn from them?
I think actually what you can learn from all the characters is that ambition is wonderful, but I think ambition without regard for the people around you becomes detrimental. And I think that that's something that as human beings, particularly because we're going back to a sort of sense of normality in the world, I think people are starting to reckon that idea of sort of their ambition and their work-life balance. And I think that that's something that you're seeing on screen is you see one person, the Baroness, who is blindly ambitious, right? And she doesn't care who she treads on. And then you see Cruella kind of toe that line. There are moments where she kind of dips into that world, but then there's other moments where she realizes that's not who she is and that's not how she's going to succeed.
Yeah, I love that. Well, it was lovely to meet you virtually, and it was lovely to speak to you. So thank you so, so much.
Thank you. And thank you for teaching me. I am a woman. Hear me roar.
I love that. Well done. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye.
So that's all from us. Thank you so much, Nadia and Isabella and Vanessa, for joining us today. And we really hope you enjoy the film. Just to remind you, it's going to be released on the 28th of May. So we'd love for you to get involved. Keep an eye out on our page for more updates over the next week. And we'd love to hear your reaction. So make sure you watch the film and let us know what you think.